Okay, I'd like to call the Baldwin City Council work session for August 5th to order, please. There being no public hearing this evening, there is old business. The first item, Ms. Woodmaster, is the Habersham County Animal Control invoice. There is no update.
I have an update. Spoke with Maddie Nix, as most of us know, is the animal control director for Habersham County, and she had a fantastic suggestion. And I love her because she thinks outside of the box. But her suggestion was to do a fundraiser, maybe sell lemonade, let people come and pet or adopt fuzzy pets, and sell lemonade to some sort of fundraiser to raise that. I believe it's $1,900. Is that? Yeah. So it's about $1,900. And I have a feeling that that would be really successful. I know Banks County residents, wish that they had animal control services, and I know that they're huge advocates for that. So I think possibly, I know it needs to be paid. I'm over it. But I'm definitely looking for alternatives, and I love her suggestion. So if everyone's okay with it, I think that we might explore what that looks like and get that going like ASAP.
I don't discount that, but the point of reaching out to the county manager was to find out if we were charged with the new rate or the old rate. So we've not heard back from Tim Sims.
Okay, I'll come here and
Okay.
explain that.
Okay.
Well, good evening.
Good evening.
Formally. The conversation we had last month was that the animal control invoice that we were sent at the end of June had FY25 numbers on it from the digest. However, when I asked about it, the numbers that they were using, they had to wait to issue the invoice until they had the digest numbers, which means they were using this year's digest numbers. However, they should have been using last year's numbers for last year's fiscal year.
Right.
This is the invoice for FY25, and they should have been using the 2024 tax number.
Yeah. Is that
Based on, I'm sorry?
Is that less? Sorry.
I would anticipate it being less because of the increase from 2023 to 2024. And also, we don't have 2025's numbers yet. Like, the county has a number for the county side, but
Right.
they haven't issued the city side yet. Additionally, when we signed the contract, we were in negotiations with them throughout fiscal year 2024. So the conversation really started in the fall of 2023, and they utilized the 2024 numbers. We didn't get invoiced until June for that fiscal year. So we were invoiced for that year at the end of the year, but then we were not invoiced according to the contract in August of 2024, which is when that invoice should have come, but it didn't come until June of the following year. So I sent an email asking for clarification, because it's my understanding if we would have gotten this invoice in August of last year, they would have been using the digest numbers from last year, not the digest numbers from this year. And the invoice that we received on June 19th should be the invoice for FY26 using this year's digest numbers.
Okay.
So I feel like there's a gap. I could be wrong, but based on the information that I have, that's what I emailed to Tim to ask for clarification on. I just don't have a response yet.
Okay,
So that was after our last meeting?
That's correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
so we just need to hold off and not pay until we have an answer.
That is an option.
So that we can, it's an option, I like that.
I have $19,000 from the FY25 budget that is available to expense. We can expense that and not the difference until we can arrive at a solution. But I don't have the final number yet, and I don't have, for those who don't know, the county's digest for the municipal, like the incorporated portion of Baldwin, is different than the Baldwin digest that is sent to us, because our exemptions are different from the county to the city. So even though they have a number for them, they just aren't ready to hand the city theirs, because they still have to go through and look at all of those exemptions and, just exemptions that exist for the
Gotcha.
cities.
Well, if it's okay with everyone else, I can reach out to him directly. I kind of owe him a little bit of an explanation from a trash comment, because that was not his, that wasn't his to, and, you know, and so I'm hoping that he didn't take personal offense. It's no secret how I feel about the whole arrangement and the service delivery aspect of it. I think those conversations need to happen again.
And there's a potential change happening
Yeah.
to the current cycle of animal control that we're in now
Yes.
due to some of the changes in the courts. And so
Yes.
that hasn't been tethered out yet. So I don't,
Yeah, maybe
we're in a
just have
holding
some more
pattern again.
Conversations are good, so maybe we need to have, so I'll reach out to him directly and I'll copy you guys in and also mention my, that was not my idea, that was totally Maddie's and I love her for it, but, I think it's kind of also a warm fuzzy way to just, get people engaged, so, thank you. I appreciate it.
So our options tonight are we can table it, we can, pay it, or we can pay part of it, the 19,000 and wait to pay the difference, is that what I understood?
Yes, I would recommend tabling it because we don't have all of the information.
Right, that's the problem, yeah.
Yeah.
So maybe I'll I'll take that off, I'll contact him and see if I can find that out, and then take that opportunity to have a special day.
Okay. Item number 2 under old business, Ms. Woodmaster ratification of SPOS 8, the IGA with modifications.
So we did adopt this resolution or this intergovernmental agreement at our last meeting and authorize the mayor to sign the IGA so that they could publish it and get all of the legal requirements on the county's end to ensure that it's on the fall referendum. However, after the signature from our mayor, there was a couple of slight modifications to the IGA. Doesn't change the breakdown any, it doesn't really change the substance of the IGA, but because our motion did not clarify that the mayor had the authorization to change any future amendments, that's why we're bringing it back up for ratification. That the signature that she used a couple of weeks ago to ink this can be used with this current agreement. So the only changes that they made were, again, clarifications on page 2 of the IGA and page 1 of the IGA, but page 2 of your packet is just, they took out the words, the debt, which does not change the substance of that sentence. And then moving on to the next page, about 5 lines down, they added the Sales and Use Tax Act instead of just saying the act to clarify what that was. And then skipping over to page 4/5 of the packet, under project provisions, it says for subparagraph A, the proceeds of sales and use tax will be used to fund all or a portion of the following projects. And they took that section out. It just says to fund the following projects, or I'm sorry, will be used to fund, and then it breaks down the debt service of the bonds and all or a portion of the county projects and the city projects collectively. So they're taking out that fund all or a portion of, and then it just clarifies the breakdown. The only project list that changed is on page 7/8, and that is clarification to the City of Demorest page, breakdown, and they added sidewalks to their SPOS list. Again, it doesn't change the numbers at all. It was just a clarification. And then page 9 is in subsection F. It brings it into the present tense, I believe. The cities acknowledge instead of have acknowledged and agree. And then it breaks it for a little further down in the paragraph. They had in parentheses, it will spend it on county projects other than the Habersham County Jail project. They took that section out. It was unnecessary. That is the tier 2 project that is being proposed in the referendum. So it's listed in our project list, and this was a redundancy. And so they took it out in the second one as well.
Okay.
So it is still the tier 2 project. It's still being proposed that is being funded through SPOS. And there are no other changes. So as long as you're okay with those changes, then in the council meeting, we encourage or suggest ratification of the IGA signature page that has already been signed by the mayor.
Very great. I'm okay with that. I think it's a good time just to remind people that this is not an additional sales tax penny. This is a continuation of what we've already been, that's already been out there, it's already been implemented. And I've noticed that a lot of the back and forth concerns that people have is, no more tax, no new tax, which I agree with. But this is not new, this is a continuation. And very cool.
All right, under new business, raw water pump expense. Ms. Woodmaster?
So we are removing this from tonight's council meeting agenda. We were hopeful to have the quotes in for this repair, but our team is still working on it. However, it is the third raw water pump at the raw water intake that is down and needs to be refurbished. This will mean that all three of them, once this is completed, all three of them will have been refurbished in the last 5 years or replaced. So
Yeah.
we're trending upward, but unfortunately it failed, so we are gonna have to replace that one. We just finished raw water pump number 2, I think 2 months ago. So this one will have to be done. We just don't have the quote yet, so this will come back in the next meeting.
The one that we just finished, that was the one that we got from, was it Ohio? That was the, it was, instead of.
No, we
sourcing-
rebuilt
Was
raw
that-
water pump number 2.
Okay.
I think what you may be referring to is our lift station pump.
That, I think so, where we got.
We had a flight pump and we moved
Yes,
to here. Yeah.
that's the one, okay, that's what's up.
That will also be coming.
All the pumps
Not yet.
decided to fail during our terms, yeah. So,
Yeah, but all three of them will have been refurbished or replaced in the last 10 years, so they should hopefully last another 10 to 15 years with proper maintenance.
That would be great.
Which
For
is
whoever here.
infrastructure. Okay, Ferguson Waterworks. Yeah, Ms. Woodmaster.
Yeah, this is, it's just over the $5,000 threshold. This is restocking our C900 pipe, 12-inch, 10-inch, 8-inch, 6-inch, and then some couplings. It's just under $10,000, but it is definitely over $5,000, which is the limit at City Hall. This is the provider that we use for all of our pipe, Ferguson Waterworks.
What kind of increase are we seeing in the cost of pipe?
A lot.
Yeah, well, all those.
What kind of increase are we seeing in the cost of pipe?
Like everything else.
Yeah, it's,
Yeah.
I mean, this invoice, I feel like 2 years ago would have been,
But it's made in the United States, which we don't pay tariffs on it.
Yeah.
But other than
Yeah.
that, it's just normal increase from year to year.
Okay.
We're low on that because we've been out there putting it down the mountain, haven't we?
Yeah, a lot of it.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're okay bringing that forward to the next meeting?
Yeah.
Okay. Consolidation of Shop with the Hero Fund with Community Events Fund. Ms.
yes.
Woodmaster.
So this is, we currently have a bank account that we hold in trust for Shop with a Hero. This is a fund that is utilized for Shop with a Hero, taking kids that are in need to buy Christmas gifts. And there's also a little funds inside the Shop with a Hero fund that is used in the event of a catastrophic event for a family in Baldwin if they were to experience a house fire and displaced by that fire. American Red Cross steps in, but only to a certain extent. So if we needed to help them out with buying them an outfit, a couple of outfits, or food, or whatever, that's what that fund is for. However, we have always historically held this account in trust, meaning that there is no oversight from the council with regard to how those funds are spent. It is accounted for by the collections brought into it, and then the bank account exists under our name. That is all it has ever done. However, this year we are recommending that we move the Shop with a Hero fund under and combine it with the community events funding that we get, and utilize that same bank account, but create one fund that is the community events fund, which would be a restricted fund that requires council approval for those expenditures, which would look like adopting a budget for our events. It would have to happen twice a year, because our events are on a calendar year, and we're on a fiscal year, so that the budget for the events in that part of the year would come before council for consideration. So obviously the fall would include Shop with a Hero and the allocation for that as well. So it's combining it all into one fund. It's pulling the community events portion out of the general fund so as to not continue to cause confusion with where the event funding money comes from.
Right.
So,
Because that was.
and yeah, and it allows those budgets to come before council. When I first got here, we had $3,000 allocated, or $6,000 potentially. I think it was 3 that first year I was here, for community events, and that was cleanup day, the tree lighting, and the fall festival. And we are now at $42,000 in collections, so, in sponsorships. So we want council to have oversight over the funding that is being allocated in those events, and it will look, and the presentation of it, and then consolidating with the Shop with a Hero, so that fund is no longer held in trust and is governed by, the governing board of the city, is the goal.
That makes- sorry. No,
How
no,
would you maintain the Shop with the Hero funds? Just acknowledge what's in it, because we have the movies and the concessions go to Shop with the Hero.
Yeah, so they're similar to how we allocate public safety funds and the fire truck fund, which we'll talk about in just a minute. There's a spreadsheet that breaks down how much money belongs to the fire truck fund and how much belongs to public safety funds, what's committed, what's expensed, what's remaining. It will look the exact same for that fund as well. And there is a clear divide at this point. We know that everything in the Shop with the Hero fund belongs to Shop with a Hero
Okay, good. That was
and
my
the
concern.
benevolent fund, right? So
Right.
like that all is already over there. And then the money that we deposit into it, if this were to be passed, would be the event money for the remainder of this calendar year.
And so thankfully, so that was my concern, was that the Shop for the Hero would get commingled with
Never.
the rest of the other.
It would be accounted for separately, just in the same fund.
That's awesome, I like that, because we did need that, that oversight. The other thing, I think it's good to take an opportunity just to remind people, because one of the concerns at our town hall was that, several comments that people have made is, no more events until, that money does not come from taxpayers, it strictly comes from the businesses in our community. They love us and they donate to us, and so we're able to put together these amazing events that that we do for the community. So I just want, again, to take that moment to clarify that that's not your taxpayer dollars.
Moving on, are we okay bringing that up at the next, Eric, you okay bringing that up at the next meeting? Next item on the agenda, closing the fire truck bank account.
So we opened this fund 2 years ago, maybe 3. Yes, the intention of it was to have a fund where if we were to collect any funds from a fundraising event, food drive, whatever, whatever it is, whatever
Chicken plate.
fundraiser, chicken plate you wanted, to deposit those funds into, while also taking that restricted 25% of the public safety funds
Right.
and dedicating it to the fire truck, into that fund, and then ultimately paying for the fire truck out of that fund. However, the last 2 payments that we've made over, we've had the truck 3 years, we've made 2 payments, and the 2 payments that we've made, because a majority of the payment was coming from public safety funds, the check is being written out of the public safety fund account, not the fire truck fund account. So all of the money that was being transferred over into the fire truck fund was just being transferred back to the public safety
Just
fund,
extra work and-
when we already account for it on that spreadsheet separately. So we know what's accounted for in the fire truck fund. However, that account, it's not an interest-bearing account, and if we don't have activity in that account, we're gonna start seeing a charge on it. And so my request to council is just to close that account. It's one less account for us to maintain, while also still achieving the same results that we intended anyway, that the fire truck funds is still restricted. 25% of all public safety fund collections is restricted to the fire truck. This year, we were hopeful to put the fire truck payment in the budget that was removed, and so the entire payment will come from public safety funds again. So the same thing that happened the last 2 years will happen again this year too. So instead of incurring those fees, it's not interest bearing, there's only $68 in it, because if you flip over to page 31 of your, I think it's 31 of your packet, at the very bottom here is the
Yes.
recent collections highlighted in blue. Those are all committed to the fire truck fund. They just have not been moved over because we wanted to present closing that account. So there's only $68 in that account as of today. That we will close, when we close it, it will transfer back to the public safety fund.
Quick question, if we decided to do a boot drive or sell chicken plates again, just what if, if we started doing that again, where would that money go?
I would recommend that it go in the general fund and there would just be a second check made,
Okay.
to the
Oh,
company.
that makes sense, yeah.
We do have a line item already for situations like that,
Yeah.
that exist in the fire department budget. We just don't fund it because we don't anticipate any throughout the year. But it does exist in our system, so if we were to collect anything like that, we would be able to put it in there and it would show up on the RE statement.
So, sorry, I talk a lot, so I just wanna, while, we have people in the audience as well as on Facebook, I'd like to remind them what the public safety fund is, again, not your tax dollars. This comes from the school zone cameras. A lot of people, that's a bit of a sore point with a lot of people. People think, oh, it's a speed trap. This is one example of the ways that we try to find other ways to pay for things. So while we would prefer for them to drive slower and not generate citations within the school zone because we care for our kids, probably more than the bills, is that those funds are, prime example, are paying for a fire truck. So this fire truck's getting paid for not out of your property taxes, but out of the school zone funds. So just wanted to mention that.
Okay, we all right bringing that up?
Yes.
Okay. Next item, Banks Highland Point paving project awards.
Yes. So we put this out to bid a couple of months ago. We had our bid opening on July 9th. We had 2 bidders. And the lower of the 2 bids was $717,705. This is, just as a refresher, this is a combined project with the Banks Highland subdivision in Banks County and then the Highland Point, not to be confused, the Highlands. The Highland Point subdivision, some upgrades, I would say, to the roads that are out there. Part of that project has already been completed. That was resizing the manhole. And then we're repaving some of that. We combined these 2 projects to encourage a more cost-effective bid,
Yeah.
right? But it is in 2 different counties. We have a Habersham County project and a Banks County project. So while it is bid out together, these 2 projects will be done by the same company. They're being funded by we're recommending funding by 2 different sources. So if you flip over to page 38, this is the proposed breakdown for the Banks Ridge paving and Highland Point paving. For Highland Point, we are proposing to use the LMEG supplements funds that were allocated to us from Department of Transportation. These funds do not require the typical LMEG 30% match. So we're utilizing those funds for the Highland Point project, which in total for that project, it's $115,916, of which 11,000, I think 575, somewhere in there, is the, we've already paid for it. It's the manhole recycling. So that part's already been paid for. So that section of it isn't on here because it was kind of its own project through the LMEG supplement fund. But the remainder of that project is also going to be paid for out of that fund as well. And then the Banks Ridge paving project we are recommending that we pay for it out of the Banks County T-Splost. This is the last subdivision that needs to be paved in Banks County. Like, this is it. Once we do this one, all of them will have been paved in the last 5 years? 7 years? 7 years, I think. This is the last one. So the proposal for T-Splost is $565,000. There's a little bit more than that in the account, but less than 1,000. So we're recommending using Banks County 3 for $87,829. We had paving on the Banks County 3 Splost. I'm not sure if any of you, Alice, it may have been only you, or maybe happened just before you, but we adopted the Banks County 3 Splost, and then a year later, we adopted T-Splost. So we had road paving projects in the Banks 3, but then we had T-Splost to utilize, so we stopped using those road funds because we were using T-Splost. So we do still have those in Banks County 3. As you know, we are already in, we're in think it's year 3 of Banks County Force Lost.
Right.
So these monies are just sitting there, and we thought that this would be an appropriate way to expense those funds, being that this was a road paving project anticipated.
Wow, so $652,829 of, that came from people who were shopping down in Commerce, because that's really where their registers are, or Banks Crossing.
We
These are
have
people who
9
are-
registers.
Well, I'm sorry, you're right, we have 9
Don't
registers.
discount.
That's also involving people, right? But I bring that up because that's on the I-85 corridor, and this is big shopping, restaurants, there's the outlet mall, there's, well, the hotel motel tax isn't, that's different. That these are people that are coming from, literally from the north to the south and everywhere in between, that are coming here shopping, and that those dollars are paving our roads. Those people don't live here.
Yep.
Well, it's also every vehicle that somebody in Banks County, every tractor, every car,
Yeah,
every, trip to the store,
Yeah.
people in Banks County pay for that.
yeah, that's right, yeah. So, now on the Habersham County side, thankfully, we've got LMIG. Can you explain what LMIG is?
It's the local maintenance improvement grant from the Department of Transportation. This is a portion of gas sales tax.
Gas sales, yeah. It goes on
That
and-
is accounted for at the state level, and then it is allocated out to qualifying cities.
Based on road mileage?
Yes, it is it's strictly based on road miles, that's it. And that you are a qualified city and in compliance with all of your audits and reporting. This special fund, this supplement that was granted is in addition to our regular LMIG allocation. So we typically get, I think it's like $50,000 to $60,000 in LMIG, based on our road miles. This, is a different allocation entirely. It is based on qualified cities and cities that applied for it. Because they had money to give away. All you had to do was apply for it with a project, which is what we did. And they had that for FY24 and for FY25, so we got it for both years. So that's what it is. So it is a little bit different, but it is still the same LMIG funding source. It's just accounted for differently because we don't, in a typical LMIG grant, the $50,000 or $60,000 that we get every year, we are typically either stacking it or we're utilizing that money and then funding the rest of it with SPLOST or T-SPLOST.
Right.
Because you have a 30% required match in order to use those funds. So I think the last project we did on LMIG before this one,
Davis, Batson.
yeah, the most recent one was Davis, Batson, Homer. That project was done with our regular LMIG. But then the 3 years before that, we stacked and put towards the Chandler Heights subdivision.
Yes, yeah, 'cause that was like, what? That was over $500,000?
Uh-huh.
Yeah, $500,000 to Chandler Heights. So I bring that up to, again, point out, not, coming out of our property tax. This is coming from the state. Love the fact that we don't have that 30% match on this.
Yeah.
But if this didn't exist, this would come out of property taxes. Yes.
Or SPLOST.
If they had this law.
If they had, yeah,
That's
if
the
it,
thing.
yeah, if SPLOST
Right.
is there.
Yes.
And we put roads on
So
there. Which
like
in Habersham County, our SPLOST, both 6 and 7, I think maybe even 5, had road paving, and repairs as a significant, bucket, a significant pot of the allocation for SPLOST
Right.
because Habersham County doesn't have T-SPLOST.
And they didn't pass,
So
right.
the special
Yeah.
projects, SPLOST is utilized for roads and bridges.
Awesome. Thank you.
Okay, item number 8 under new business, MOUs with GMRC for grant administration.
Yes. On page 39 of your packet is the letter. There are 2 MOUs in here. The first one is for the Atlanta Regional Commission. I think that's what it's, Appalachian Regional Commission?
I think it's the Appalachian Regional Commission.
It's Appalachian.
Yeah.
I don't know why I said Atlanta.
Georgia Mountain.
Right? So we're going after an ARC grant, and then we are also going after an EDA, which is the Economic Development. Nope, that's not what it's called. No, it's Economic Development Administration, but it's their disaster fund,
Right.
EDA, Economic Development Association Disaster Relief Fund. So we have two grants that we're pursuing. The first grant is the ARC grant, which is, right now, the ARC has increased their maximum from $1 million to $2 million, which is not typical, but they have money to allocate, so they are looking for projects that are shovel-ready, and they can allocate these funds for quickly. So the project that we've put in this ARC grant request is the solids handling building. As most of you know, we have a screw press that does not have a home. The belt press that we currently have is a prototype. It's constantly having to be worked on.
Yeah,
Right now it's down.
still.
Yeah, it's down. We're trying to get it back running. But it also, because of the way that our belt press was designed, it does not reduce the amount of water in our sludge. So when we take it to the landfill, it's heavier, and there are restrictions at the landfill for how much weight of that water can exist in that sludge. So a couple of years ago, we were told that we weren't going to be allowed to take our sludge to the R&B landfill in Banks
30
County.
days.
But thankfully, they have continued to extend that permit, waiting on guidance from the EPA. So while we're waiting on that, we didn't know that at the time. We were in crisis mode, and we moved into, we're going to get a screw press because it can reduce the water concentration in the sludge, and we can continue to take our sludge to the R&B landfill, which is only 20 minutes away versus 2 hours away in Pine Bluff,
Yes.
which is where we were going to have to take our sludge. Well, once we got the screw press allocated, we used ARPA funds to pay for that. The cost of that came in higher than anticipated, not by much. I think it was like $85,000 additional. But then we bid out the building that it will ultimately go in, and that we anticipated that to be a completely different price point, but it came up to be, I think it was 2.9, 2.3 million to build that building. So we put a pin in that project, hopeful to come after new money, some type of way to fund that. We were looking at all of the different funding mechanisms we had tied to it initially when we thought it was gonna be just under $1 million. And when this opportunity came up, we thought it would be a perfect way to secure that funding. Now, I will say this does not cover the cost of everything. So while the project that we need is $2 million, it's a little over $2 million, we can only get half from this grant. So even though they have a $2 million match threshold right now, because our project is only I think it's 2.9, 2.5 or 2.9, I think it's 2.5, I think you're right. 2.5 million, we can only get 1.25 from ARC, because that's the total cost of our project. If we had a $4 million project, we could get $2 million. So we are pursuing the 1.25 from ARC. That will also mean that we have to pursue a GFA loan for the additional 1.25. However, we do have some other funding that we had originally allocated, like system connection fees, and I believe we had some of the O&M reserve money tied, restricted to that. So it won't be 1.25 from GFA, or it could be. It's a decision for council at another time. We're not prepared to ask for that, but it will be in next month's meeting. What we're looking for today, I know this was long-winded.
It's important though.
Right, so the ARC grant, while we have not received an ARC grant in over, I think 10 years, maybe 15. It's been a long time since we've received one of their grants. But because we had a shovel-ready project, we pursued it. However, we're utilizing GMRC, which is our Georgia Mountain Regional Commission, to administer the grant for us. So they're doing the application, they're doing the grant administration, and making sure that the contractor is following all of the requirements that the federal government has in place for those dollars. With that comes a fee. It is $30,000 for GMRC to manage this grant. However, there is only a fee if we are awarded the grant, and it is accounted for in the grant funds. So we've added that $30,000 to our project costs in order to include that in the payment, if we were to get it.
Gotcha.
If we do not get the grant, their services to this point were free. And it lists that out in the contract, that the application is no fee to the city, they're doing it as a courtesy, we're members of GMRC, we pay a quarterly fee for that. But if we are to get the grant and it is administered, it is $30,000. Sorry.
I'm sorry,
That's okay.
I thought I read in there that it was up to a maximum, so it could be less than.
It could be less than that, yes.
But it
And with
won't go over.
That's correct. It could be less than that. I don't anticipate it being less for the EDA grant, potentially for ARC, because it's truly a shovel-ready project. And like the engineering side of it is already done. It really is just building a building and installing. And so I don't think that they're gonna have to administer it for long. So this one may be less than 30,000, but it is at most 30. That's correct. Thank you.
So just making sure that I understand, the whole way, so 1.25, no, I'm sorry, I can't even, 1.25 million, and then 4.25 from GIVA, and that would take care of everything?
No.
No.
I don't know what that means. 1.25 is the request from ARC, and then the 1.25 from GIVA. You said 4.25, but it's only one. So the total cost of the project in total is 2.5. We're requesting 1.25 from ARC and then 1.25 from GIVA.
Okay, I may have heard for it, okay, sorry, yeah.
No, we don't need that.
I got it. Okay,
We
so.
will on the other side.
Halfsies, yeah.
So that's the ARC grants, and then the EDA grants that we're pursuing is the Economic Development Administration Disaster Relief Grant. So what happens is Hurricane Helene, and
Okay.
Hurricane Helene
Yeah.
happened, and it created, it was a declared disaster for a majority of the northern part of the state,
Mhm.
into North Carolina and Tennessee. And the Economic Development Administration has these disaster relief funds that open up when a disaster happens to help prevent further destruction of services, to combat another disaster. So we want to rebuild the things that were torn down and put in some safeguards to prevent it from happening again. Well, because Habersham County was declared in that state of emergency, we are eligible to go after EDA funds. And additionally, our wastewater plant was impacted directly by Hurricane Helene, in that our inflow and infiltration, or the I&I that Fletcher refers to often, caused us to exceed our permits on a couple of thresholds. And so there was a permit violation as a result of that. Was it October?
That was, it was late September, September
Yeah.
27th.
So we violated that permit quarter. And the biggest catalyst for I&I, with the exception of the collection system, is that our wastewater system is outside and inadequate. So most of you know our rake in the buckets exists at the head workstation.
Literally,
And
rake in a bucket.
yeah, and it's all exposed. So as it's raining, the rainwater is just going into the system, right? Well, there's one way to prevent that, and it's to have a proper working headworks station that would reduce some of the I&I that is coming into the system and be able to divert it. So the EDA grant that we're pursuing is to rehabilitate our wastewater plant, which is almost 8 million, I believe. And they cover 80% of this project. We do still have to cover the 20% of that project, but as long as we, the city, are committed to funding that 20%, that 80% is available to the city. We do have to apply for this, and we have to apply for it quickly, which is why GMRC is willing to help us in that application process. There is not a submission date or a deadline for the application. It is when the money runs out. So the money is there, and we want to pursue that money now. We have had the rehabilitation of the wastewater system, or wastewater plant, on our CIP since we've had a CIP.
Long time.
So we are hopeful that we can get this. We brought out the GMRC member, Lauren, to our wastewater plant, and her words, and I quote her, "I thought you were being facetious when you said a break in a bucket."
No, we're not. It's really a break in a bucket.
So we are hopeful, but we do have to pursue it, and in order to do that, we need the authorization council to pursue that.
So the 20%, do we have that in our?
We do not.
Right.
That will either have to be through GIFA, through a loan, or doing a subordinate bond, which is what we were anticipating doing for the solids handling building to cover that difference. So we can do a subordinate bond for that as well. It will require the city to encumber that expense. And we may have more system connection fees at that point. That I'm not certain. But the one thing, we can decide as a city where that money comes from, if it's from system connection fees, the O&M funds, from a subordinate bond, from a GFA loan, from a
Combination
fundraiser,
of-
a combination of all of the things, to come up with that funding. What we have to tell them is that if you give us 80, we'll provide the 20. And this does not come around often.
No,
And
right.
so to have this ability to go after $6 million is a pretty great thing.
I would equate this to, in our not too long ago history, where the city was given a grant for, or offered a grant for the water lines down the mountain. Council at the time, which none of us here, was like, yeah, we don't need that. So you see where that's left us. So here we are in that same position. So it's, yeah, I'm looking forward to digging in and figuring out how to fund that additional 20%, because it's just time. Our plan's old.
It's that or funding $8 million.
Say what?
1.2 million is 20% that we would need to fund.
Thank you, because I got a calculator. I said I'm not a numbers person, yeah. 1.2 million. Okay, I know, that sounds attainable. I mean, 80% of $8 million.
Yeah, we were going to pursue a subordinate bond for 1.2 million for the Solace Handling building.
Oh,
Or
right.
initially, obviously that cost has changed, so that was out of the question. So it is definitely still an option for us. But at this point in time, the main concern is putting in the application for EDA for them to review it. Once we submit the application, they said it'll take up to 2 weeks, I believe, for them to review it and determine if it's even eligible to go after it. We think it is. All of the counterparts and all of the agencies that participate in the EDA have all said that this seems attainable, but you never know until the application is in, they reviewed it, and made a determination. So we would like to pursue that.
Yeah.
And I believe we want to have the application submitted by the end of this month. I think that was our timeline, because yeah. So EMI is working on updating the preliminary cost estimate for those modifications to the wastewater treatment. But GMRC, same funding, it's the exact same thing as ARC, it's up to $30,000, which I do think this one would be the full $30,000 because of the length of the project, and the overall administration of EDA is a little bit different than the ARC.
Okay, so that would be an additional, that would be on.
But it's included in our EDA request. So the
Okay.
funding of it is still, it's a part of the project, it's not,
Yeah,
we do have to pay it, but it'll either be done
Through the grant.
through the grant funds or,
but that would be a separate $30,000. Got them kind of
Yep.
separate, yeah, okay. All right, yep.
All right, next item on the agenda, budgeted expense, 2 salt spreaders.
I'm going to turn the podium over to Mr. Barnhart. Sorry about this.
Oh,
Let you have it.
Evening.
good evening.
Yeah. Well, what this is to replace the 2 salt spreaders that go into pickup trucks. The plows, they're 10 years, one's 10 years old, one's 11 years old. They changed over from the gas motors that run them to electric motors. And the reason for that is just a safety issue. You're out there,
Yes.
you run out of gas, this little lawnmower engine's what runs them, and when you run out of gas in the wintertime, you lift it up and you're pouring hot gas into a motor. So apparently they've been having a lot of problems because they don't make them. Now they're just going to all electric. So, but what this is just replacing the 2 old ones we have with new ones. Now, another 10 years, we'll come back and have to get 2 new ones in 10 years, or 11 years, like I say, one's 11, one's 10. It's just the salt. I mean, no matter how well you clean them and treat them after the end of the season, you put them away, the salt just takes a toll. The plows are not that bad. The plows are still in really, really good shape.
Good.
Yeah, they're possibly looking for plows. I mean, with some little maintenance issues on those, I think we can get 20 years out of them. I really do. I mean, they're holding up well. It's a good manufacturer for these things. And so, but salt spreaders are just another issue. So that's why I put them in the budget this year to replace those.
These are the same salt spreaders that, that Joey, and this wouldn't happen to be the same salt spreaders that Joey and I were putting bags of salt and rock into the little hopper and.
Well, those were little plastic ones.
Yeah.
No, they no, those things there are just, yeah, they're good for little
A driveway.
teeny parking lots. Yeah, you put 2 bags in, you turn it on, 3 seconds later it's
It's
empty.
empty.
Right, these here is a mixture. We mix 89 stone, which is really tiny stone,
Mhm.
with the rock salt. And we fill up a hopper, and the hopper will last us, depending on how many streets we hit, how bad the ice is at that time. They go a long way, they really
Yeah.
do.
That's good.
And,
Cause that was something else that was interesting.
so just come up with a way to figure out how to make the chains that run all that out of something other than metal, would be good, because the hopper itself is aluminum.
Yeah.
But all the gears and everything inside and the belt is steel. Steel, no matter how long. So I was surprised they lasted
Right.
11 years.
Well, those who have ever lived up north, or like you and I that lived at the
Right.
north of the beach, I mean, even your salt shaker at home, you get rust in little holes, so
Well, fortunate that we don't have like the Northeast or, up there, you see how the cars rot away because there's salt on their roads, but they get a lot more snow events than we do.
right.
So there's times that we'll take it out and we'll never hit the plow on the road. We'll go out and pre-treat some roads to keep some icy spots, and then when they're done with that, we put them away and end of season, clean them up, put them away. So they last longer in the south than they would up north, but
Sure.
they still it takes their toll on them.
Are either of the ones are either of the ones we have now functional at all? Or
One of them is patched up pretty good, the other one's not, it's not functional at all.
Right.
The other one has been patched up. I couldn't guarantee it will run when we go to put them back up this year. I can't guarantee it will or won't. We put them together as best we can, but some parts that we can't even get for them.
Right.
How quickly can the work be done?
Pardon me?
How quickly can the work be done?
Oh, from what it is, it's a company is out of right outside of Kingsport, Tennessee. They're the local distributor for all the Meyer stuff, and we use our source well, which is contract price. We give them a source well number that we have. We get their contract price. They sell to everybody, but they take care of a lot of. They do the whole southeast region, so they get pretty busy pretty quick. The closer we get to winter, the quicker they build. I talked to the man. He said if we bring both trucks up, he'll dedicate 2 people in the shop to put both of them on the same day. That saves a lot of no overnight stays. That I can take one person with me. We can run up there one day. They put all of them on. We come back the same day. It makes for a 14, 15-hour day, but we can get it done in one day. We just have to, when it gets approved, call him and they'll have to put it on their schedule. Hall County uses them for their plows. I know that they're getting 10 this year, from what I heard. I'm not sure, but
You got a lot of roads.
the different places use them, so it gets pretty busy.
So how are we gonna fund these?
It's in the budget.
It's in
I
the
put
budget.
it in the street budget.
Gotcha. Okay. Okay, so these are not SPOS dollars, these are actually property tax.
These are actually property tax dollars.
Is there any chance that you can sell the old ones?
When they take the old ones off, they don't have to take the old ones off the truck, we already have them off, but when they take the old controllers out, we're gonna put them with those units and then put them on gov deals to sell them off. Just like we will the back truck when the new one comes in, the old one will go on gov deals.
You've always been really good about, making do, or coming up with another plan, or finding something that's a great deal. So we appreciate that, and you know, I have no doubt that whatever, every penny that can come out of that, you'll get it.
Oh, yeah. Yeah,
How
definitely.
much lead time do they need, like, for you to, like, here's my concern, is that when we approved the budget,
Mhm.
and I know it's in the budget, we approved it, we knew that we didn't have the tax digest yet, and we might have to amend the budget, which we haven't done yet. We don't have all the numbers, so I'm wondering, if you call them in, let's say, October, instead of August, and said, okay, we have two who want to come up and get them, how soon would they be able to accommodate you, any idea?
That, I don't know, I would have to call them and see if there's gonna be a price change in it also. This is, this was quoted, this price was quoted in June, and they still held on to that price.
When it's summertime, and he's.
But he didn't get his allocation, and we didn't let them know, because see, we're on a weird year, we're July to July, and instead of a calendar year, and everybody, a lot of other, you know, municipalities, counties, they're on calendar year. So he gets an allotment, he puts in an order, and they ship them to him, and the freight is included. Anything after that, we pay extra for freight. So that's the only price change from when he quoted me the price, was now that we didn't get it in, there's gonna be a freight charge, which is $1,200, $1,100, something like that for the freight cost. So, I mean, there's no guarantee,
Oh, we are?
it was $1,250 was what the freight was for two of them. That's not each, but for both of them. Because he'll have to have them trucked in separately than his order he's already got. I mean, yes, there's quite a possibility. We could call him in, you know, October and say, hey, can we get them now? But I could not guarantee price nor that they would be, you know, I mean, the closer you get to winter,
Right.
the tighter everything gets. And that's fine, and that's fine. I mean, that's, you know, I understand what you're saying, and that's fine. I mean,
Unless you have an ice storm in November.
Right, or October, because, 2 years ago, we had, I mean, it wasn't an ice storm, but we had pipes freezing.
Right.
The great freeze on Halloween.
Right.
Yeah, so.
Yeah, but it's just, I mean, that just, but to answer your question, yes, of course, I mean, it's totally at the decision of council if they wanna wait and hold off on it. Fine, I mean, we will do what we can do, and if we cannot, if I call him in September, October, November, and he can't get them until next year now, because that, then, I mean, the good part is the guys are gonna get to enjoy some time at home this time.
Right, instead of being out there.
I mean, just,
Right.
and I'm not being,
Right.
you know, about it, it's just,
Yeah.
I can't say what will be. I don't know what their thing is. I'd be happy to call them tomorrow and find out. But I can't, you know, I can't guarantee it. I can't say, well, yes, that'll be fine. But
I don't have a problem with that.
I don't control that part of it, and I mean, you know, we're gonna do what we need to do. I mean,
Right.
that's
We appreciate that.
that's what we do. We
Yeah.
duct
Yes,
tape
you do.
and we, you know, a few things held together, so.
Emily, do we have any idea when the tax digest will come in? No.
I'm hopeful that it comes within this month.
But they got their assessments around there. Yeah. The
So it
assessments.
really, I mean, the last time the assessments went out, we saw it within 4 weeks of the assessment notices going out. So I anticipate the same thing. I mean, it could, I mean, there's 1 year we didn't get it until, I think, what was it, August 18th, 28th?
19th,
Yeah.
something like
It
that.
was pretty
And
late.
the assessments were also late, you know, just because they were.
Yeah. So I would say I'm hopeful that within the month we have them, but, I mean, that's still, we have to adopt the millage rate.
Right.
And then we have so many council meetings.
Right, so, and that said, and Councilwoman Lehman, thank you for pointing out that precisely that we are still waiting on the digest. We have still committed to making, amendments to the budget, and, I personally have no problem with the salt spreaders. This past winter, there were parts of northeast Georgia that didn't thaw out for weeks, weeks. So, you know, that, the salt melts the ice. You know, it's, I've spent time with that and understand what goes into it. I don't have a problem with salt spreaders.
We're okay bringing it up to the meeting.
Yeah.
Well, can we separate it from the consent agenda?
In the meeting, we can make a motion to do that.
Yeah, I'd like to separate that. from
Okay.
this, Yeah.
Okay, next item, budgeted item, public works service trucks.
But what that is the, again, something that I put into the budget was keeping with the 10-year replacement plan of the vehicles. This here was, I put it in there, and this is in the enterprise fund, not in the general fund, it's in the enterprise fund. And, what we were looking for is we're looking for a service truck that can do double duty, it can pull the trailer and pull the excavator, be able to do that as well as service a service truck. So how we do it now is we pull it with the dump truck, so if we go out there and we have something going on, a water main leak, and we need dirt, they undo the trailer and leave the trailer sitting on the side of the road, go back to the dump truck, get the dirt, bring it back. This is gonna eliminate that. You're gonna have a vehicle that can work alone, or it can pull the trailer. If the dump truck happens to go down, you need a dump truck, you still have another vehicle that can pull the trailer. Currently, you know,
That sounds
we
weird,
we hooked it to
complicated.
the other service truck that we have, and it folded down the back end, and it just didn't work. Yeah,
Oh.
the bolts had rusted through, imagine that, but, yeah, so. Luckily, we found out at the yard instead of, you know, on the road.
But see, y'all heard him say,
But-
we just do it if we
Well,
just do
right,
it.
but anyway, the thing about that was, is that I had put in there, I'd put in the budget for $90,000 for this vehicle. And,
So it's below.
Hayes honored the contract, the state contract price, and we're gonna be able to get that vehicle, as they quoted out, $78,400.
And this is a service like a service body, service
Service
truck?
body.
So those are not cheap. So,
So
that is relatively.
So it actually came in a lot better now, and the only thing they have to add on that is a light bar, which we get.
Okay.
We get the, I don't wanna say cheap, but we get the least expensive light bar you can find.
Bells and whistles.
The basic
Standard.
thing, and then we do, rhino lining on the inside of the box and stuff, cause that just saves it on that stuff, so. But that stuff there is not more than $1,000 of each thing.
Yeah,
I think the light bar we paid $1,100 or something more, and, you know, rhino lining was $800 or something, so it's not much more than, it's still a good deal, away from $90,000.
And you would expense both of those add-ons in the enterprise fund?
That's not in this line item here is strictly for the vehicle, those upfitting, what they call upfitting, that'll come out of the same line item,
Mhm.
but it's not gonna make up that,
Right, no,
$10,000
it would still be
difference.
enterprise fund, not general fund.
that's correct.
Yes.
Enterprise
Okay.
fund, sorry
Okay.
about that.
And for the folks in the back, enterprise is what our water and wastewater.
Water, sure.
Right, because because that's what their department handles that stuff. So instead of that coming from actual property taxes, it's coming from the people's assets which earn monies, which is the water and the wastewater fund. So that's, boy, cause let me tell you what, I'm just full disclosure, it was killing me, cause I was like, oh man, if this is a general fund expense, you know, my suggestion was gonna be to maybe
We already-
not know, but like maybe not right this second until we can get some of those other things, so this is a huge relief.
Well, in the general fund,
Yeah.
I'd had another vehicle in the general fund
And we took
at the
that
beginning
one
of the
out.
whole process, and
Yeah.
we
I know.
axed it
I'm
out,
sorry.
we axed it, well, I mean, it is what it is.
You know I like to
I
say
mean,
yes, but we
you know,
couldn't.
I mean,
Yeah.
you know, we axed quite a bit out of that.
I know.
And we cut it down to
Especially
where,
eating.
where,
It's important
you
to
know.
note that when something is coming before council,
Public Works is the enterprise.
Yeah,
And
that's
the
right.
street department is gonna say streets or street department.
Yes. Thank you, thank you, okay.
Any
yes,
questions on
we can
that?
have that.
The current truck that you have, this is a replacement for a current truck?
Yes, oh yes, and that truck, will- that
And
truck,
that will-
actually, that truck is
That'll go
already,
to Gov Deals as well?
that's correct,
Okay.
it's already on the back row, actually.
I think you does too,
It'll go to
yeah.
Gov Deals.
Yeah.
We'll get money for it.
Yes,
Yeah.
right, yes.
Selling it.
Good.
Okay.
Any
Thanks.
questions?
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you. All right.
Oh, that's cute, really.
Yeah.
I was sweating out.
I know.
Yeah, I was sweating out.
Okay, the last item was a DCA Arts grant. That was something that I was looking at. It's at the end of your packet. We've talked about, the tap yard, moving from, is it in the other packet?
It's the last two.
56,
Okay.
57.
We've talked about, the farmer's market kind of converting over to the tap yard to an event space. And we've talked about the murals that are on the back wall being more aligned with that idea of the farmer's market and not necessarily like the event space, vibe. And there was a conversation about, do we want to do something with those murals, kind of update them, you know, do something. So I talked to Nick and Amanda Morris if they were interested. They may be interested, but what's on your page, the DCA Arts Grant for the Visionary City had a deadline of August 29th for a grant for like between $5,000 and $10,000 toward a public mural. Nick and Amanda don't think that we can talk about this, come up with a concept, get a concept approved in that short amount of time. So that's why that was on there. So what I'll ask is that we table that and, you know, we'll have a year. If this is something that the council is interested in, maybe we could plan for next year, but definitely not for this year.
So remind me, the murals that are there where John College, which is an artist that is no longer on this earth with us, those are not his, but they are reproductions of some of his
In
paintings.
his style, yeah.
Right.
I mean, it wasn't.
Which, and it didn't have it, I mean, there was some, there's one of a, it's got garden rows and things like that. But one, the big one is of the downtown as it used to be back in the day, right?
An interpretation of it.
An interpretation of it, right, it's not, you know, exact. My own, I don't mind having a grant, and, you know, I think that's great for the arts grant, but I know that there's been a little bit of a bullseye on that mural, because people are like, oh, it's so old and it's that, but you know what, I think one of the things is that it was done just a few years ago, and it's I don't think we paid anything for it, we didn't, right. So the other thing too, is that, you know, one of our problems that we've had, and this has come up in comprehensive plan meetings previously, and I think the one that we talk about, that we have no downtown, because it was plowed over. And so I understand that some of us may think that that is old fashioned and it's so long ago and all those kinds of things. I think that that is a fantastic ode to our past and to Baldwin's history and what it used to look like. Right, exactly.
Well, I
The
mean,
history is
but again,
gone.
that could be incorporated into the vision for the artwork down there. I mean, like, we've not talked about anything.
Yes. that's
Well,
what
I
we're
don't
talking
know,
about.
maybe.
With what?
Exactly.
I don't know. I mean, the idea was there was a grant available. Were we interested in pursuing a grant to look at some new public mural downtown?
I'm not.
So, I'm asking that it be taken. Anyway, so,
I'm gonna take
but we can do that in the meeting. Okay. That concludes our new business for the work session. Announcements for work session qualifying for the November 4th municipal general election will be August 18th through the 21st from 8:30 to 4:30, and August 22nd from 8:30 to 12. The positions of post 4, 5, and mayor are up for re-election. please contact Laurel Ellison with the Habersham County Office of Elections and Voter Registration at 706-839-0170 for more information. Public notifications through Everbridge are now live. You can sign up using the QR code on the back of your August water bill on the city's website or at City Hall. And actually, we used it for the first time yesterday, and it worked really well when we had the bomb scare.
We encourage everyone to sign up.
Yes, absolutely.
Have any of you signed up for the Everbridge, the notification?
And make sure you sign up for notifications.
Yeah.
You can't just sign up with Everbridge and put your address in. And make sure you put your address in, that really helps.
Yeah, I
So
messed it up.
we can determine areas, if there's an area with a water leak, you know, we can identify if you're on that area. So, Everbridge. Yeah, it sends email, it sends a text, and a phone call. I got everything yesterday, so I got bombarded.
Now you don't have to elect to do everything. You
No.
can decide, I only want a text message, I only want an email, I only want a phone call. You can also,
I'm just kidding.
you can also select all of them and be bombarded by the warning that something's happening. Or you can elect to do one or two of them. And if it's not an emergency and it's just like a notification of this road closure, it will send it to your primary source first. If you don't acknowledge it within a certain time frame, typically 2 to 3 minutes, it'll then send it to the next one, and it prompts you for an acknowledgement, like, I saw that this happened, and then it's reported back to the software that you've seen it. So the response that we got yesterday, we had 26 people signed up for it, for notifications, and within, I think it was like 4 or 5 minutes, half of them responded that they had received it, and by the end of it, everyone had responded. I think
I didn't
we're
respond.
short one, but everyone had responded to acknowledging it. But on the flip side, when it was, the issue had been resolved, we did not mandate or require that notification, like, you didn't have to acknowledge that you received it. We cared more about that.
I like it. I think
Yeah,
it's great.
I'm excited.
Okay, join us for Darren's Theater at the Tap Yard on August 22nd at 8 p.m. for a free screening of Sonic the Hedgehog 3. Bring a chair and a blanket for a night under the stars with your friends and family. Concessions are available with all proceeds going to Shop with a Hero. And there will be a public meeting on August 26th for the 2025 Comprehensive Plan. This is an opportunity for residents, business owners, and other Baldwin stakeholders to provide feedback to the Comprehensive Plan Committee for creating the city's roadmap for the next 5 to 10 years. The meeting will take place at 6 p.m. in the Baldwin Municipal Courtroom. And lastly, city offices will be closed Monday, September 1st in observance of Labor Day.
There's one more on the
There's
back.
one more in the back.
We ran out of room.
Yes. Public Safety Day will be held at Baldwin City Hall on September 6th from 11 a.m. to 3 p.m. The free event is for all ages, focusing on educational demonstrations and activities to inform the public of how to stay safe at home and on the road. Parking will be available at Baldwin Head Start on Light Street.
Quick question, because I'm not gonna say unfortunately tied up with work, thankfully tied up with work. How did our last, what was the attendance on our last comprehensive plan meeting? Was it good? Yeah, everybody's still showing up? Thank you, because there are a couple of you in the audience that are showing up for that, and I really appreciate it. Great.
And Hannah covers it in the newspaper.
Yeah, oh, yes, and I did read your, yeah, thank you. That's great. That means a lot.
Okay, can I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
I have a motion from Councilwoman Benter. Can I have a second? Second from Councilwoman Davis. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. We will be adjourned for 10 minutes.
10 minutes, and then
We'll come on back for our council meeting.
Yep.